Welcome to Pragmatic Talks, a podcast and video series where we discuss startups, contemporary digital product development, modern technologies, and product management. Pragmatic Talks is brought to you by Pragmatic Coders. We believe that modern methods and approaches to software product development should be widely adopted in the market to minimize the wastage of talent. We also believe that everyone should have equal access to knowledge about product development and entrepreneurship. Everyone should have the opportunity to apply it in the pursuit of making our world a better place. Through this series, we aim to create an impact on the future world. For this episode, we invited Jakub Dobosz, an Agile Delivery Lead at Pragmatic Coders, where he is responsible for the standardization of product and people development process. Today, we will talk about 3 dimensions of processes and tools that any successful company should sooner or later implement to grow without major problems. This discussion is focused on 3 areas: product, people, and processes. If you are working on designing your organization structure and processes, this talk is definitely for you. And now, please welcome Jakub Dobosz. Welcome, Jakub.
Welcome.
In today's episode, we are going to discuss all of the methods and processes that you may find useful when growing your company. We will try to categorize them into 3 categories: product, processes, and people. Why those 3 categories? Because I believe, and I hope that you also confirm that any growing company needs to focus on those 3 aspects and grow into these 3 aspects in parallel. We are going to provide you with some examples from our company, from Pragmatic Coders, and we'll tell you the story how we grew Pragmatic Coders from around 60 people to more than 100 people in the last 2 years. It wasn't easy. It was a long journey. But we learned a lot, we made some mistakes, but as a side effect, we end up with a company that is self-managing itself, and we have proper processes, tools, and methods implemented, so we avoid a lot of problems, a lot of issues that we faced in the past before those transformations. So, Jakub, maybe let's start with some examples of tools, processes, methods that we are using in the area of, let's say, product development and product discovery.
Okay. I totally agree with you that we need to pay attention towards these 3 areas because they need to go together. We cannot, for example, start with great product development, let's say in one product, because, okay, it might give us as a company some advantage. We can develop this product very well and have great referrals. But what we will do next, like what will happen if we have another product? We need to take care that we have procedures that help us, processes that help us to pass the knowledge, to maintain the same quality. And there is a need in terms of working with various people in order to provide them with knowledge, but also with skills, with competencies, with tools. So definitely they need to go together. When it comes to product discovery, product management, what we really aim for is to understand the needs of partners that we work with, and just to ask the question why you want to do that, why you need it, and it actually expands towards different areas. Like we treat like this our partners, our clients, but also we treat ourselves like this. So, for example, when product owner comes with some idea, talks about some goals, some next steps when it comes to product development, it's usual for the team, for developers, UX designers, and so on, to ask the question why. Why we want to do this? Why we want to jump into this particular area of the product or fulfill this particular need. Mm-hmm. So what we are doing, we are constantly involving all people in this process. Of course, you might say that product owner is accountable for product discovery, to work on the roadmap, to work on goals. And at the same time, we invite everybody in the team to take part in it and to be able to provide their feedback on a very early stage, because we understand that building the products, it's a composition of various aspects, of course, the vision, the need, and so on, but also how it can be built and so what can we actually do. It might sound simple, but the first tool is truly just focusing on the need and making sure that we understand it. The second thing that we do, and it's kind of touches also the process part, we aim to have standardized approach in terms of tools. So, for example, we use product vision statement, or we lean towards Lean Canvas just to fill out with our clients. Then we have roadmaps that we build based on that. Of course, there is a whole area of UX research that also is standardized. And then we go towards development and delivery practices that help us maintain high quality and deliver actually value to our clients. And last but not least, the third one is, and it's also connected with the first one, focusing on value. So when we ask about why you need this, the second thing that we also think in back of our heads, it's okay, when we get the answer, does it bring value? And also together inside our teams, we constantly talk about the value and if it brings currently at this current stage of the product development, if it answers some of our questions or it will provide us some information that might be helpful in the future. So I think in general, these are like three most important tools or let's say items that we care about in terms of product development.
So maybe before I will ask you more about the standards that you mentioned, it's worth to mention that at Pragmatic Coders, we are usually working with few clients in parallel. Like right now, it's around 13 products as far as I remember. Sometimes it's even more. In the past years, we had a lot of chances to actually experiment with different approach. And those standards that you will be talking about in a moment are mostly based on our experience and are battle tested on the many different products in many different contexts, and they are all still being improved all the time. So let's get back to those standards. So you already named a few tools that we have standardized, but can you tell a little bit more about them? Like what is standard for our, let's say, product vision statement?
In terms of product management, product development, we identified 4 areas that we focus on, and we check how we are handling these areas in particular product, in particular cooperation with given partner. So the first one is the strategy. We have a couple of questions that we ask ourselves, like if we understand it, if we talk about it, and these are examples that will show us that we are on top on the strategic level of the product development. The second area is discovery. So if we are properly figuring out the needs of potential customers, if we see what can be done next, and so on. The third one is delivery. So we are checking in terms of product if we are actually delivering value to our partners and to their customers, and how we are actually handling it. And the fourth one is leadership, because we see that in terms of the thing that I mentioned earlier, together as a product teams, we are involved in whole process. So leadership means that we can lead all areas that we are accountable for, we are responsible for, starting from working on the product items like product vision statements and so on and so forth. Also UX research and product development itself, so actually developing some solutions. It's also important for us because some of our clients also expect us, and it's perfectly great that we can help them with that, to work also on processes and to lead them throughout this journey, I may say, when it comes to product development and product management. When it comes to the standards themselves, what we are aiming for is to use standards that are available on the market. It's easier to have the same language with people that come and work with us. It's quicker to understand each other, and it's quicker to build trust. Because it's all about trust in all areas.
At the end of the day, yes. Instead of inventing the wheel again and again, we are using things that are available in the market, which is also not easy because there are people who are often claiming that they know some tools or heard about some tools, but in practice they use it in the wrong way, and we are only humans. Standards. This is something that we'll be repeating here like many times. I remember that very helpful for us, for our organization, was creating quite a few checklists. Could you tell us a little bit more about those checklists? Maybe you have some examples of the questions or things on this checklist and how we are using it, how our teams are using it.
Sure. So what I already described, and this 4 areas like strategy, discovery, delivery, and leadership. In these areas, we are checking product management and how we are handling them in terms of like, for example, looking at now and, for example, in 2 months, if anything changes or if we are doing any progress. The second checklist that we have is Scrum Health checklist. Actually, we are in area where we innovate, so we are trying to be as fast as possible to look, as I mentioned, at the value that we are delivering, and to focus on things that actually matters. This Scrum Health checklist has like 67 questions, and it touches different areas of Scrum framework. For example, if everybody in the team was aware of the sprint goal. This is an example when it comes to sprint goal, and so on. So the great thing about it, and actually it concerns all checklists, and I think it's worth mentioning right now, that what we do with them, we kind of look at the progress of the team. Okay, there might be some comparisons between the team just to look at the general, at the health of the organization, like how we are handling different areas like products, Scrum, and so on. But at the same time, what we aim for is to see the progress for particular team, for particular product. So we are comparing the results like in 2 months' time usually. It might be often, but that's the maximum that you want to check what's going on. And it made total sense in terms of the areas that you mentioned. So the product is for the product area. Scrum is for the processes area. We also have technical health checklist. This is in terms of checking if we keep technical standards. So, for example, CI/CD. There are things that if you discuss some items, and some items are transparent, so they are kind of influencing and are embedded in the culture. So this is what we're also trying to accomplish with checklists. And
like this kind of tools are also driving the culture. So
exactly.
People are starting following some patterns, some desired behaviors.
Exactly, that's perfectly correct. This thing also helps us to see if we should take care or support some of the teams. Might be that there is some technology that they are not aware with, and we have these competences in the organization, so we can check basing on the score from the checklist if there are some actions of support needed. And these are 3 checklists that supports products and product area and process area. When it comes to product, we have one more thing that we are checking because we see that as important. Checking the how sprint goals were delivered, because it also can show us some information about the team and how they are progressing, if there are some changes or not. So we are checking last 6 sprint goals and just count the percentage of how many of them were delivered. So, for example, if there is 0, so there's for sure there's something's wrong. Yes, we need to talk about it. On the other hand, if there's 100%, there's also something wrong. Yeah, most probably. So these are indicators that help us in terms of standards to dive into teams and just to be sure that that we take care about particular items that are they need support. And we also mentioned that there is a third area, people, and it's a little bit different because this is handled from the perspective of checking how they are satisfied. We have like quarterly surveys when it comes to the happiness, the emotions, and how they perceive the organization. So this is also the standard that we are repeating, that we are checking the data and we make our decisions. And I think also in terms of standards and people, very important are knowledge guilds, let's put it that way, like for example, product owners, UX designers, Node.js.
Standards for knowledge sharing.
Knowledge sharing, yeah. This is kind of a standard that provides us the possibility that everybody who is joining the company has this possibility to join the guild of his domain or other. And that's perfectly correct, because what we are trying to do is to encourage people to share knowledge. And we have situations that people change their domain.
We'll come back to knowledge sharing. I have like a few questions about it as well, but let's get back to the product and the things that you already mentioned. There are a few other things, like for example, we have a standard for starting a new product, starting a new team. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Okay, so from the team perspective, what we try to do at the very beginning is to get everybody on board. We have onboarding meetings in terms of the product, like what we are doing. Usually, some of the people take part in initial discussions with our partner, so they are aware what's behind the idea, what we are dealing with, and so on. But also there are people who are joining when we start cooperation. So one of the items, and we might say from the product side, is that we are onboarding people to understand the product. It's kind of a new thing that we are doing right now, is to build the team actually at the very beginning. So bring them to the office, bring them to some area, so they can get to know each other, because in some cases, people worked already with each other, but there are some mixes when two projects, for example, finishes. Yeah, so there is a need to build a new team. So we are trying to give them a heads up in terms of how they cooperate to do some, I don't know, maybe ice-breaking activity, something simple, or even just meeting in the office to have a pizza.
Shaking hands and knowing each other. Yeah, like also what you mentioned, like those guilds, knowledge sharing guilds, they are also an opportunity to meet other people, especially in the same technology, where there is like a high probability that one day you will be working together on some of the same project.
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes to this starting, we also have this checklist that also help us to start the product, because for example, technical checklist tells us what you need to pay attention to at the very beginning, and the same when it comes to product health checklist. Yeah, so which areas are good to handle in the beginning of the product development and the cooperation, and that might be helpful for new initiative. The last thing that I want to mention that we are doing in Pragmatic is standardizing how we communicate, and because we feel it's very important. What we aim for is to have as many face-to-face meetings as possible, especially at the very beginning, and also with our partners. But this is extremely important, if it's possible, of course, because we understand that we have our partners from different areas of the world, and that might be not doable in some cases. But if it's possible, we strongly advise and strongly push forward to meet, to establish communication, how we will communicate, what items will be handled in what manner, how we will meet each other, and so on. Because we think that the beginning of the product development for each successful product, how we start also plays a vital role in this. So we also intentionally and openly, transparently says about like how we will communicate, when we will be point of contact. For example, some of our clients are used to having one person that is responsible for, status reports or something like saying what team is doing. That's not how we want to work in Pragmatic. We want everybody to be able to voice their ideas, concerns, and so on. So at the very beginning, we mentioned to our partners, okay, this is the person who will be in the role of product owner, UX designer, backend developer, frontend developer, full stack developer, and so on. And we can contact each other. Because I see that in many situations, there is this misunderstanding that there will be one person. Of course, there are some items that are discussed in particular domains like product ownership and so on. But in general, we want to make sure that everybody has access to everybody.
Okay. So let's make a one step back. Before we start working on the software product, in most cases, we have a product discovery workshop that we run together with our clients, with our partners, all of the stakeholders, if it's possible. Could you tell a little bit more about the standards around product discovery workshop?
It's great that you're asking about it because it's evaluating. I'm very happy to say about it, as we try different approaches and we try if they work, and then focus on the ones that are particularly good in the area of product discovery, and especially initial workshops. So what we do for sure is the thing that we focus on the problem that we want to solve. So we direct our discussion in terms of really clearly defining the problem that we want to solve. The second thing that we are doing is trying to think about the offer, because there is a problem. So what offer can we provide to potential customers of the product? So it might be kind of connected to a unique value proposition. So what the product will offer, what will be differentiator of the product. But the main idea behind this is like, what can we offer to potential users? And then what we focus on is to quickly bounce that idea, like the problem and offer, from actual responders, like from actual customers, actual users. Because in many cases, we live in this kind of assumptions bubble. Like I understand that, for example, the people who have who have idea, they are convinced that that's great, because it's a driving force of product development, and it's perfect. At the same time, we are this kind of balance to put it in the right track, to validate it at the very beginning, to check if the problem exists and the offer that we have in our minds will be accepted by potential customers. Having that two items, we do some initial research, and it differentiates between different products, because in the product that is pretty simple, we might jump right into building some prototype and doing some research. In products which are more complex, might be a good idea to build a landing page to get somebody on the waiting list, and so on. So the next items, I would treat it as a decision tree, like what we will do next. For example, build a landing page, go quickly to validate if we are on the right track. If we validate it, then we can build a prototype. Then we can do some additional research. If this way of solving the problem, way of providing this offer is accepted by potential customers. What is also a misunderstanding in terms of thinking only about discovery workshops or product discovery. The problem is that some of the people think about it as a phase, which is not true. Product discovery is a process.
It's a continuous process.
Exactly. What we are trying to show is to validate this problem that exists, this offer that can solve the problem for potential customers, then take next actions, at the same time still continuing product discovery. So we are learning, maybe not on a daily basis, but on a, let's say, sprint basis. Let's put it that way in a Scrum language. And what is very important is the fact that we might always change our direction of where we are heading. Even in some cases, 180 degrees. It depends on the product. What we are trying to do at the very beginning is to define the problem, define the offer, and show our partners that this product discovery will continue along our way. And we have to be open to changes, to the feedback of people, of customers, potential customers that will eventually use the product.
I would like to add to this that in the past, when we start a new project for our clients, usually the client came with some set of requirements, set of functionalities, or even some mock-ups, some designs to be implemented. What we found out was that usually after first 2-3 weeks of software development, we've been working on something totally different than we have been talking during this initial conversation with the client. Like we've been working on things that were not designed, were not analyzed before, because we discovered something during the process. So product discovery workshop was an answer for this issue that sometimes we've been wasting some time at the very beginning to actually learn from this product discovery things that we should know at the very beginning. The second thing that I would like to mention is that it's my own example. Like some time ago, I started my own startup, and of course, I use a Pragmatic Coders team for that. Because we were like in a rush, we had this brilliant idea. I want to go to production as fast as possible. We decided that we'll skip this product discovery workshop. And after 4 weeks or 5 weeks, I realized that we wasted most of our time because every time when team delivered a new version, I was like, no, it should be changed. It should work that way. No, it should work another way. Then we rework it. Okay, perfect. And then we show it to the customers, to the potential users of the app. And they were like, no, it should work like, I don't understand it. It should work in a totally different way. After 4 or 5 weeks, I don't remember, we decided, okay, let's stop the development. Let's do the product discovery workshop right now. And let's try to figure out what our users actually need. Since then, we avoid a lot of problems, a lot of rework. The work became more smooth in terms of the delivery, in terms of the problems that we faced. But also, what was very important then was that the team started believing in the product idea because they started understanding it, but also they seen that the market answer, the market response was positive. So people who we interviewed actually had this problem, had this need that we wanted to solve with the app. That was also very motivating for the team and also improved the work.
Actually, you mentioned two important items. When the team delivered the product to you, you were providing them with feedback. No, this way, that way. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is also due to the fact that you aim from the very beginning to be the user of the application. Yeah. So you are actually in the potential group that provide valuable feedback, and at the same time, you are the only person. So it was kind of biased. It was kind of on your point of view. So this is why, like, opening for other potential users broaden this picture.
Like I have like a few other examples of why doing a proper UX user experience research and doing interviews with some cohort of users makes sense. The app that I mentioned is a medical app. It's for patients and doctors. And we have a doctor in the team, and this doctor had objection on few aspects of the application that he said that because of, let's say, regulations or law restrictions or other things like security of the patient data, because of that, no doctors would not like to use this app. That they will never use this app because of this. We disagree with him because we run like UX interviews with like number of doctors. At some point, even he himself did this kind of interviews with his colleagues. And none of them mentioned that this is the issue.
Okay.
He said, "Okay, it's only me. It's not about he's like a part of the team, and he may be considered as like our advisor and partner." But he said that, "Okay, I'm not the alpha and omega. I don't know everything, and I'm not the regular user. I'm just one of the users who might have some issues with the app. But at the end of the day, the entire cohort of users, in this case doctors, they do not see this problem that he saw. Doing proper UX research all the time as a process is a part of the way we build products, we build software.
Yeah, and the second thing that I heard from what you said is I think is a buzzword, but the empowerment. You mentioned that the team better believed in the app, better understand what's there, and what needs to be solved actually, and what they should do, and how can proceed with that. And this is the same about the product discovery that we run. As I probably you notice, I didn't mention any features or some functionalities of the product. Focusing on the problem, focusing on the offer, gives the team incredible space to innovate, to think how it can be solved, like what can be done there, how to handle it, how to check given item, given offer. Yeah, like having the teams that are business oriented, like focus on business, focus on value. This can use their full potential. You can use some great tool to to dig small hole. Yeah, that's for sure, and it will work.
Yeah,
but what's the point? It's better to use the tool to be something one man just like great. Yeah. These two items I think are very important in terms of product discovery, product development at the very first stage. So to be focused on feedback from potential users and to really hear it. And the other thing is to leave space for experimentation. That's
experimentation and for searching for better solutions for problems. Yeah,
exactly.
like always searching for a better solution. One other thing that I just recall is that the team that I was working with, they at some point they decided to go to the production faster than we planned it, because they figure out the better way to do stuff, like things that they don't need to do before going to production to actually go to production. I was like, I'm the guy who's always saying, always be launching, go to production as fast as possible, etc. And I was actually holding them back, and they decide on their own that it's better to go to production. Of course, they inform me. It's not that they went to production and didn't tell anyone, but they informed me and they convinced me pretty easily that we don't need it at the very beginning. We found a better way to actually satisfy the client's need and go to production much earlier than we planned. So this is actually the result of product discovery process that we have in place. The UX designers who are also interviewing users, the team that is aware of the real user needs, and they can be empowered to actually make this kind of decision, or actually make this kind of ideas to build a better product, to be building it in a better way. This is something really amazing even for me. When I felt it on my own skin when I tried to build the product with them. If you're watching this and we are talking here about product management, we are talking here about the Scrum, you might also like to watch the 2 other episodes, or actually 3 other episodes that we recorded previously. One is about the product management, and there with Michał Kania we discuss how our product managers, product owners are working. There is way more details and tools about product management that we are using, and standards that we are using as well. There is another episode about Scrum with Dariusz Mózgowy, with whom we discuss Scrum for startups, but actually it's a universal Scrum description, the way the process works, and also the way we are using Scrum. And we are very focused on using the Scrum in the right way and using it as a leverage to improve our performance, our effectiveness, but also to improve our product management and make it more efficient. We are also focused not only on Agile, but also on lean part of product development. There is a third episode especially about the product discovery and this continuous learning about the product with Kate Small and Jazga, our lead UX designer, with whom we talk about the UX process of Pragmatic, but also about the UX user experience in general. Let's get back to our discussion about the processes and tools. We have those standards for those checklists for products, for product development, product management. You mentioned technical checklists. You mentioned also Scrum health checklist. We also have like a few other smaller checklists, like for example, team onboarding, etc. As I mentioned before, like creation of those checklists help us a lot, and thanks to that we avoid a lot of problems that usually are not visible at the beginning, but their results are visible later on, and the consequences are usually pretty, or could be pretty painful. So maybe let's talk about the things that you already mentioned. Let's talk about people.
I think it's on the verge of processes and people. I would say that we have standards, like for example, for knowledge sharing, for being involved in some parts of the product development itself, or in given team, or in general in whole organization. What is great about composition of these two items is that we have some frames, like how we work, but we do not define like inside of these frames. Like teams and guilds and this knowledge guilds have their own own ways to for example exchange knowledge, to motivate each other, to check each other. Yeah? Because what we are aiming for is to be sure that we as a team, as a company, we are doing good. And we care about each other. Yeah, like for example, we have guild of product owners, so they meet on a weekly basis to talk about their products in the terms of being a little bit grilled.
It's called product roast.
Yeah, it's called product roast. That's the
Officially.
not officially. That's correct. But the intention is very good there. So we are trying to get better and better. And in terms of people and this composition of process, this frame and people gives possibility to experiment in teams. And I mean teams in terms of this domain teams, like for example Node.js developers and for example Java developers and so on. And also in terms of product teams, like for example we are building given products, so they can also somehow experiment. And example is such, we had a product that more people were involved in the development. It's more than 10 people in the team. And then the team saw that there is a place to try less, large scale Scrum. So they just tried it. If it works, how it can be implemented, what can be done. And then we have this kind of also a standard, it's called Monday Talks, that we can share knowledge between teams. So somebody raise their hand and say, okay, I want to share our experience with less. Yeah?
Company-wide meeting where people can present their lesson learned, or even some things that are not related to work.
Exactly. On the other hand, we have the team that also was big, and they decided to split their, let's say, streams, smaller ones, and they also tried different processes inside. And it was cool also to see how they're organized, focusing at the end of the day on the value that they deliver and the cooperation and so on. So that gives great space, these frames. And what's also extremely interesting from my point of view is how the teams might inspire each other. Some time ago, I by myself tried this kind of product owner partners initiative, like to combine pairs of product owners that will meet, for example, on a daily basis and talk about challenges, some things that they want to discuss. So there will be a continuity in a given pair. That was an idea. So there will be a support for each other on a regular basis. And from various reasons, this experiment didn't work. We may go into deeper in that, but that's not the case. What I'm trying to say here. After like 4 months, I had a discussion with Kate. She's, as you mentioned, lead of UX team in Pragmatic. And he mentioned that they started UX days. And it's basically the same idea, two people meeting and just exchanging, supporting and so on. And in their case, it works. So, I might have, said to myself, oh, this was a bad experiment, and we'll waste some time and so on. And looking just locally at this area, it might have been right. But taking care about the global perspective and seeing different teams, I see the results of it, so that we can inspire each other, and that's perfectly fine. That in some place this practice will not work, but our team, our group can benefit from that, just to somehow taking the idea and tweaking it for their needs. So this is a great example of this space for experiments and space to being able to choose own ways to handle, for example, knowledge sharing support, and at the end of the day, delivering value.
Yeah, I also remember the story of those checklists that we mentioned before. Like the very first checklist was a Scrum health checklist, which we developed during our Scrum training, internal Scrum training that we are running, also as a part of, let's say, every of our employees have to go through this extended Scrum training, which is like a 3 months duration, 1 time a week for 1 hour. We work with people, do some workshops about Scrum and particular parts of Scrum, and teach them how to use Scrum. Part of the first training that we had was creation of the Scrum health checklist. And when people started using it, like every 2 months, filling it with their own team's results, etc., they noticed that it actually helped them. So they started another checklist, and this is how the product health checklist appeared and was created. And then when people saw that, okay, it was for product and it was for Scrum, let's do the technical checklist to also avoid some mistakes and some problems, and to actually even monitor the way how good we are in this area, or what could we improve as well.
I just connected 2 dots, and your previous questions about product, like when we start the product, and actually there is a big checklist there.
Study.
Yeah, it bases on the experience from the various implementations, and it was actually inspired by the other checklists. And so we put their information, like from our point of view, that is important to smoothly run it. To be sure that we took care about everything at the very beginning, because usually the beginnings are a little bit messy, so some items may slip. So this kind of checklists are great help.
I also remember that the same happened with the Link Office. Like the first one was the Scrum Link Office, that was a part of this training process that we had. But then it appeared that there is a separate product Link Office, then another guilds, like a Node.js guild, starts their own meetings in the same format. When people started learning one tool for facilitating knowledge exchange, etc., they are starting to use it in a different context, and that's great. Also, it's very good for those people because they don't need to learn a new methods, a new facilitation or meeting format every time, because each of them looks pretty the same, and they can move between these meetings smoothly.
You mentioned very important thing, and it was one of the reasons to introduce Scrum in whole organization. The standardization helps to move inside the organization itself. So as you mentioned, even Link Office, for example, I am Node.js developer and I'm attending my Link Office and I'm thinking, okay, I'm interested in blockchain. I would like to check what's going on there. So when I'm joining the blockchain Link Office meeting, I already know how it is run. So I don't have to ask about, okay, how you discuss it. And so that's great. And the other thing also connected with experimentation. We have the Scrum Link Office, and then the idea pops out to bring product separate. And we started these 2 initiatives, and then suddenly somebody got an idea, like, we are talking about like Scrum product thing, so let's combine these 2 Link Office. It will be great. Actually, at the end of the day, this experiment was not very good, because product owners took over the meeting. And we saw that okay, it will be better to separate it. And actually, it was I think it was Michael that just asked, like, okay, maybe let's do product Link Office, and it started. It was started by him again. So we came back to this practice, and it was, and like I treat it as a product lying on the shelf. It's available, so you know the standard. You just can grab it, use it, check it if it works, because we had a kind of a cycle. That time, for time being, it worked, then it didn't, and then it worked again. So it's good to have the standards for people also to being aware, like, what can be used and how they can configure it, how they can play with it.
For those of you who don't know, the lean coffee format is also a standard that you can Google and read about, but it's very simple tool where you have like a limited time. You have like a 5 minutes to write down all of the questions that you would like to ask, or the topics that you would like to discuss with people who are on the meeting. Then we are doing a quick dot voting to decide what is the order of the topics that we would like to discuss. And then we have like a 7 minutes to discuss the first topic. If we finish the discussion before, it's perfect. We can finish it. But after those 7 minutes, if there is still a discussion, we do a quick thumbs up, thumbs down voting if we want to continue for another 3 or depending on the format of 5 minutes. And then every time after the time box is finished, we decide again. So it could happen that for the entire hour, you will be discussing only one topic, or it could be like plenty of topics that you will cover during this small time periods, this time slots. So it's a very effective way to discuss some topics, some issues, some problems that you may face. I honestly recommend it.
Actually, I don't know if you knew there is a third option right now, what we are testing and some meetings are using. As you mentioned, thumbs up is continuing, thumbs down is we will not continue, and thumbs to the side is let's stop, but we will make action point.
Okay.
So this is kind of a differential between between like we don't want to talk about it and that's fine and we covered it, and we feel that we don't want to talk about it, but there is a space to do something about it in near future.
Great. Well, it's cool. I didn't know that. I need to attend these meetings more often. So if we are talking about the knowledge sharing, knowledge exchange, it's very important to also mention our onboarding process. When a new person appear at Pragmatic, is hired, join us. Could you tell us a little bit more how this process looks like?
Sure. So we want to make sure that everybody has a basic knowledge at the very beginning. We make sure that we are on the same page. Naturally, it's merely impossible to get all knowledge, like this living knowledge that is in the company in this small period. So there are some actions planned later on, so I will talk about them. But at the very beginning, we aim to have short meetings that will just like injection. We want to focus on very important items. So of course there are some administration meetings, so it means like how you
how to fill up the your time off.
Yeah, exactly. Some this kind of stuff. There are some meetings in terms of different departments, so how we are working. So it's delivery, it's sales, marketing, and also what we are aiming for in the very beginning is the meeting about our values and also how we work. So we have this, I may say, short 6-hour training from Scrum. So we want to provide basic knowledge for everybody. Actually, everybody, and I'm pretty proud of it. That I truly feel that we practice what we preach. Our departments, marketing, HR, also work in Scrum. I aim to work in Scrum. 2 or 3 months ago, I was having this onboarding meeting from Scrum with everybody from marketing, because that was the time that people were joining our company, and that was amazing. It's another point of view from people that weren't included in this ways of working before. This is the very initial part of onboarding. Of course, beside that, especially if somebody is joining particular team, so they get onboarding from the product owner, the team, what's going on there. They need to our partner and so on. So this is like a regular, depending on the team that they are joining. The last thing is everybody is told about initiatives that we have in Pragmatic that are, let's say, cross-functional. So there's guilds, Monday talks, some meetings. They are invited for our monthly company updates, our demo days that we show our products. They are aware what's going on in the company, because we aim to build this relationship, which we think that this is very important from the very beginning. And later on, when we move towards, like after these 2 months, we aim to have it till 1 year time from the starting point of particular person. We invite them for example, for advanced Scrum training, which takes around like 14 weeks. Every week we meet for 1 hour, and we have like long discussions about particular topics in Scrum. So thanks to that, everybody can understand better, and also what is more important, they can start sharing their experiences and their feedback from the teams that they are working with right now. Because it's also very important to get feedback from people that just joined our organization, because they can have fresh look on the ways we work. What we also consider very important is to have some trainings around communication, around technological stuff, around for example, domain knowledge, like product ownership. We have this training of 7 meetings for 1 hour and a half that we cover each step of the product management process. Participant gets homework, so it's not so easy. It's of benefit for them to develop and to discuss the outputs and outcomes what they achieved from the work. Along way, we of course invite the people that joined us to be on guilds, to be present in company space, in company events, meetings, and so on, because it is the best way to onboard, like the fastest way to onboard, to be aware like what's going on and how we operate.
Some of the trainings are mandatory, some of them are obligatory. We've also created an app, a very simple no-code solution to actually monitor who is attending which training, who has already completed all of the mandatory trainings and finished the onboarding process, and who is signing up for the obligatory training. I believe that is very important, and this is the best way to actually bring people to speed when they are joining company. And also it's a great tool to work on the company culture. Of course, aside of that, it's very important to hire the right people who are good in the way of the culture fit, or to the culture that you want to build with. Especially if you want to change your company culture, you need to start hiring people who fit to your new company culture that you want to build. So it's also very important in terms of the hiring. We also have standards for hiring as well. But I believe that the hiring developers, especially, or hiring people for companies, for software companies, this is a topic for a different discussion and different meeting. And I believe that will be one of our very next episodes. Let's talk a little bit about how we evaluate people and how this process looks like how the leadership in a company looks like.
Sure. We focus on the everyday development. Let's put it that way. If they follow Scrum framework, which this kind of mandatory, they are encouraged to do retrospective. They are encouraged to learn, to develop, and to look for new ways of working. Like in terms of process, in terms of competences, and so on. So this is one thing. The other thing that help us evaluate are the particular meetings. For example, as we mentioned, we have this product review when product owners are presenting their products, and we also have action point from this meeting. Like product owners have action point from this meeting. So we also check how the action points were done or what happened with them. So it's kind of also evaluation in a way that it motivates you to go further, try new things and go for the next level. In terms of individuals, maybe I will focus on that first, because I started with product owners and so on. When it comes to individuals, we have a role of team leader, and that is working with up to 5 people. And this team leader is responsible for the development of these people that he or she is working with. This is the frame. And that's beautiful. This is the frame. And how they organize this evaluation development, it's their idea. They can meet, for example, on a weekly basis. They can meet on a monthly basis. At the end of the day, we have definitely at least one checkpoint, like a yearly check. We aim to have half a year checks, but this is also the frame. And during this yearly check, it's up to a team leader and the person themselves to decide how they will run it. For sure, they need to gather feedback. So we have this a service, or we can talk face to face with the person that you want to get feedback from, and that correspond to our values. So we are checking how the person is fulfilling the values, or how they feel with the values, and what are actual actions, actual things that the person did that show the full use of the value or the lack of the value. Because we aim to work on actual examples and actual things that can be fixed or changed or can be cherished, let's put it that way. So if somebody is that person truly takes ownership, we want to, I don't know, say, have a high five and and ask how that person can expand the approach that they are presenting to the others. For example, that's just an example. There is this discussion with the team leader on what to focus on next in terms of further development. It can concern the values themselves, like particular behaviors, particular things that were done or were not. Also, it can consider the various areas of places that we work. What I mean is, for example, I am a Node.js developer. There might be some items from the technical point of view that may focus on during next months. Also, if I am a Node.js developer, there might be room for me, and it might be interesting for me to focus on Scrum. I can jump into the role of Scrum Master in my team, and that's interesting for me. Also, there are examples of people transitioning from developer to product owner. So it depends on the person. We try to adjust, especially when it comes to senior developer, senior roles, what areas, what things of interest are for this particular person, and try to find the common ground, like how we can help each other. This on the individual level. What we also evaluate on the team's level are the checklists. So we are checking like how the team are doing, and also we have a dashboard and that shows all the team. But what is the most important thing? It's the number that is next to the percentage of checked items from the list that shows the change. So if it's with plus sign, it means that the team developed. If it's minus, that might be a thing to check, like why. It might be reasonable in some cases, but it's definitely worth checking. The first example, if there is a rise in the percentage, it might be good to talk with the team to do some Monday talk, to share how they managed to, for example, get from, 78% to 80, 6. Because that's kind of cool to share, especially that some teams might be on a different level and might use it. I may say that both of these perspectives are very important, because from the organization perspective, we look on both. I believe that teams might actually produce more values than individuals. So looking and
I know that. I don't believe it. I just say it so many times that I know that.
Exactly. So looking at how they develop, how they are evaluated, is great indicator for how much value we will bring. At the same time, looking at individual level help us develop people, which of course influence the team level, and also gives in some cases motivation for the personal development, being seen and being heard. Also combining this two perspective is a great recipe for success.
Perfect. Okay, so let's talk a bit about the processes, especially the quality assurance processes. The thing that is distinguishing us, our company, from others is that we do not hire software testers. It doesn't mean that we are not testing the software, but having someone who will be looking for bugs in some issues in the software, instead of assuring that those issues will never appear, it's actually a waste. Yeah? It's obviously a waste. So this is why we don't have testers. Because there are other better ways to assure the quality of the software than just testing and controlling the quality and then doing the rework on fixing the bugs, fixing issues, and repeating it over and over again. Could you tell us a little bit more about the processes of the processes and tools and methods that help us assure the quality of the software?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Actually, one of our values is ownership. So I cannot imagine passing the responsibility, passing the ownership of the part of the software that I develop to somebody else. Because actually, testing it is just okay, I did it, and somebody else will check it. So it might result in that. It's not a certainty. What we are aiming for is to actually solve the problem before it happens. Yeah. So we definitely take time to automate the tests, like the tests that can be automated for sure. We are implementing continuous integration, continuous delivery in our products, because we believe that it will help us to grow the product without fear. Actually, the tests, manual tests, are also might result in a lot of fear of changing some items. If you have automated tests, which takes for example 5-10 minutes to run through whole solution, it's simple. You do some change, just run the test. You see that everything's working. You are fine. You are secure. There might be some items that are beside this, for example, unit testing or functional testing, and we also check it. We focus on let's say exploratory testing, and we do it inside the team, the product team. For example, other developers are testing. We are cross-testing. We pay attention that somebody who developed it will not test.
It's not that we don't have testers means that we are not testing.
Exactly.
It's we have this testing competences inside of the teams, but we don't need a separate role for that, especially that those roles are costly. And as I mentioned before, it's very hard to plan the way in Agile environment, in Scrum, in a way that person will be efficiently providing value to the product development. Of course, I'm not saying that testers are not providing value to any team. No, that's not true. But there are better, much easier, and cheaper ways to assure quality of the software than just testing it in.
Exactly, and this is kind of preparation for longer development. Because if we start from the very beginning to automate testing the most use cases, I won't say all, because there might be some items that need manual testing in some cases, but we focus on automating it. It help us and give us possibility to develop the product on later phases without the fear that I mentioned. What was also cool in one of our teams that I worked with, it's not about testing, it's about code review. What they did, they decided to have a code review in pairs. When somebody finished the part of the code they wanted to be reviewed, they talked to each other either face to face or through some remote tool, and the person that wrote the code went through it, and the code reviewer was looking at the code and was listening to that person. And what was extremely interesting is that the author of the code by themselves, they fix it. It's like a yellow duck.
I think. Rubber duck.
Yeah, rubber duck. In this scenario, when the code review is done and the code reviewer understands how it works from the technical point of view, she might be a good person to test it. That person is already inside this business case, use case that the code was representing. It also might influence the speed of how we are checking our product. I'm talking about this exploratory testing, like if we need to break, we try to do some, weird stuff just to try to break the...
Stress it.
Yeah, stress it, exactly.
Yeah.
So thanks to that, people learn, and also they look for efficient way to ensure the quality, because code review is also part of quality practice. Yeah.
It's also very important that aside of that, there is plenty of other things that we implemented that supports quality assurance. Like, for example, the fact that we are working in Scrum, that there is a definition of done in Scrum, so another checklist. The fact that we have great product managers who are also using some standards on how to describe the requirements or how to write user stories, etc. That there should be some acceptance criteria. And again, using Scrum assures that we have extensive backlog refinement process where people who will be doing the work are also talking and discussing and researching the requirements. It's also a way to avoid a lot of errors, a lot of bugs that usually happen from not understanding the requirements. It's hard to not understand the requirement that I was writing down and I was discussing before. So if it won't be done in next 5 months, but in the next sprint, I still remember what we discussed and what was the edge cases, other stuff, and especially if we make a note, most of the problems are usually avoided. Also, trunk-based development, continuous delivery that you mentioned, single branch flow development, those are methods that allow us to release very, very often to production. So, and it's also a method that allow us to revert the changes if we find something that is wrong, that there is some issue, and that the impact of this issue is high. So even if we make a mistake, we can easily revert. As you mentioned, it's all about the fear of making changes. If we can easily revert, in most cases, there is no fear.
Yeah.
We can release anything to production. Of course, it may be annoying to some users if they see that something is there, doesn't work, and then disappear. But it doesn't happen very often. I think that the best proof to confirm that our processes work is our clients' opinion, that actually no one is complaining about the quality, and there is not so many discussions with our clients about the quality issues or something like this. If they're usually easily fixed by some adjustment in the process, not by adding testers to the team.
Exactly. And also, I think it's cool to share practice. When we had a little bit bigger team, actually it was around 8 developers in the team, we figured out that during refinements, there is no need for everybody to be in the refinement meeting.
Sure.
We agreed that 3 to 4 people is enough to have effective discussion and to figure out what needs to be done in this particular user story. We refined this user story having the team engaged, like 3 to 4 people. And then when we were done with the refinement, when we wrote down all acceptance criteria, when we defined all subtasks for given user story, we invited the others who just read the acceptance criteria, maybe heard 2 or 3 sentences, what's about, and then we start estimation. And it really helped us to double check if we truly understood the user story, because in most cases the estimates were close to each other.
Right.
We did a great job, but there were some cases that, for example, the estimates from the team estimating was 5 using planning poker, and somebody from invited gave 13.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Yeah.
And then we had additional discussion, and
This is actually like planning poker. It's another tool to increase the quality. I would say that this is the main goal of using estimation, to have the same knowledge about what has to be done in the particular product backlog item. And the side effect of this process are the numbers, are the estimates, not the opposite way around. If you are doing estimation and you are focused only on the numbers, not on this knowledge sharing, then most probably you are not doing it correctly.
What is very important also from our perspective is to get our partner on board in terms of our process, how we check quality and how we ensure it. And I remember products that we were developing that our partners just, went through it very quickly just to have like check to see if from the business perspective it's working, but they definitely didn't do any, let's say, like checking all acceptance criteria, because they were trusting our process, and actually they were right. Everything was okay there when we tested it. What's more, it also helped us to understand like what is the way for our partner in terms of the product that we are developing in a bigger picture, and because some of the items might go to production instantly, like when we develop it. Some of them might be connected with actions that our partner is doing on their side. So, for example, I know marketing, onboarding new client, and so on and so forth. So, understanding the process, how it flows, also from the quality perspective and the time of deployment, let's put it that way, it's very important from my perspective.
Also, like deployment doesn't equal release. Blue-green deployment flag features, feature flags, and etc. Those are the practices that we use.
That's another way of controlling quality control. Feature flag. So you mentioned reversing changes.
Yeah.
Switching off feature flag is even simpler.
Even simpler, and we can provide a admin panel for a client who can turn it off whenever they want. Yeah, so those are like quite a few. You mentioned test automations, where people use test-driven development for their work, and other by writing tests after. I am a TDD guy, so I always believe that the only way you should do this is TDD, but I won't be discussing it with all of our developers. I just interested in that they are writing the test. That's the basic. That's also a basic requirement when we hiring developers. So if you want to apply to us and you don't write this, please start. Don't waste your time.
This is about standards for recruitment, and I remember one recruitment interview that I was running. It was about a culture fit. We also pay close attention to that, and I had one person that I figured out from what that gentleman was saying that he's not willing to test. And I asked him, okay, what if I said to you that we do not have testers? And he looked at me and he said, I wouldn't like it. I said, that's fine, but we are not fit.
Yeah.
We're not work. So yeah, that's perfectly fine. It's like everybody can have their own ways of working.
Yeah, exactly. That's. I think that this is something, again, for another episode about hiring, but culture fit, this kind of topics during the recruitment, the way we work, etc., and asking or checking if the person, the candidate, fits to this kind of processes is very, very important. Okay, so all of that, like all of these processes and tools, actually made us way more efficient and effective than the years before. The best way to showcase how efficient we are is by saying what is the average size of our team, which is usually something around 4 developers. And with such a small team, we are usually able to deliver pretty fast, usually even less than 3 months, deliver the first version of the product to production. It's also based on the product management. Again, I invite you to watch the episode about the product management and how we do that. But it's also the effect, the result of the way we teach these people how they should work, the processes that we have. I think that the best examples are, for example, a full banking app that was delivered by the team of up to 8-9 people in a year and a half or something like this. And they were ready to deliver even before that time period, but because of the regulations, because of some licensing and other stuff, it took longer. Comparing that, 8 people, 1.5 year, releasing a bank, comparing that to another companies that are building banking apps or banks that are working in a different way, where they need like 100 of people or 200 of people to develop an app and to ship something to production. I think that showed the difference between our approach and the approach of another companies. So is there anything else that we should discuss today?
I think adding to what you have said, and I think it will be also a great summary of what we just said, is 2 things. It's like understanding the need. I'm saying about everybody in the team, everybody. Understanding the need and focusing on the value. because building the bank in year and a half or even earlier, it's about like what has to be delivered for the bank to be operating.
Mhm.
Of course, there are also items to be added. If the product is running, it might be an endless story for some time. But when we focus on value, when we think about value, and we listen to users of the product, to our partners that also has valid insight, that bring us to realize their goal and bring what actually people need, which is our goal.
So thank you very much, Jakub. I hope that you enjoyed this discussion. I hope that you found something useful for you. Maybe you can copy some of our tools and methods. Just be careful, and first of all, always try to assess your needs and your organization and what are your challenges and problems, and try to choose the solutions that fit to your challenges and problems. But if you have any questions about how we work, or if you have any questions regarding the tools or methods that we mentioned here, do not hesitate to contact us, me personally, or contact Pragmatic Coders. Of course, if you also would like to experience this kind of working and join us, you can always apply. We hiring mostly people from Poland, but of course we will consider any candidate. And also, if you would like to experience it from the other way and start working with us as our client, or as Jakub, you use this word many times, as our partner, because this is how we how we actually treat our clients. Also contact us, and we will always be happy to work on your product together with you. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, or to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. And please give us thumbs up to make this episode more available for a broader audience. Thank you very much. Pragmatic Talks is delivered to you by Pragmatic Coders, the first choice software development partners for startup founders. Be sure to catch all new episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast channels. And if you are thinking about building your own startup or struggling with product development, contact us and find out what we can do together.